Section 82 says, nothing is an offense which if done by a child under 7 years of age. This provision is based on the assumption that the child below 7 years of age is duly incapax, which means a child below the age of 7 years is not capable of distinguishing between right or wrong, and that the child below 7 years cannot have bad intention to commit a crime. Accordingly, such child should not be punished by law for his acts. It is important to note that the child below the age of 7 years have absolute immunity from criminal liability. That means such child cannot be punished under any circumstances. Prosecution is not allowed to prove that child was intelligent enough to know his acts. If a child is below 7 years, he cannot be punished by any court, whatever may be the circumstances. Now, Section 83 deals with the acts of a child above 7 years and under 12 years of immature understanding. Section 83 says, nothing is an offense which, if done by a child above 7 years of age and under 12, who has not attained sufficient maturity of understanding to judge of the nature and consequences of his conduct on that occasion. Here, the immunity from the criminal liability is not absolute. To punish the child under this section, two things have to be proved. First, that the child is between the age of 7 years and 12 years. Second, that the child has attained sufficient maturity of understanding the consequences of his acts. Whether a child has sufficient maturity to understand the consequences of his acts will depend on the facts and circumstances of the case. For example, if a 10-year-old child steals a mobile phone and sells it in the market for 500 rupees, then he is deemed to be sufficiently mature enough to understand the consequences of his act, and he will be punished just like an adult in such case. In Ullah versus King, the accused was a 10 years old girl. The girl was scolded by her father-in-law and her husband, who attempted to beat her. After a few days, while the husband was sleeping, the girl hit on her husband's neck with a sharp object and the husband died. After this, the girl ran away and concealed herself. Court held that the girl was duly capex, which means she was capable of understanding the consequences of her action. Accordingly, the court convicted the girl for murder.